So, in the really tense standoff between the US and Iran, we are getting two completely opposite messages. On one hand, you've got President Trump vowing to use overwhelming force, and on the other, Iran's president is basically pleading for peace. So, which one is it? Let's try to break down what's actually going on here. I mean, look at this. On one side, you have President Trump saying he's going to hit Iran extremely hard. And on the other, Iran's president is out here saying peace is still possible. It's a pretty stark contrast, right? It's created this really confusing and incredibly tense moment. And that's the central puzzle we're digging into right now. Okay, so first up, let's dive into President Trump's address to the nation. What did he actually say? And maybe more importantly, what signals was he trying to send? Right out of the gate, there's this fascinating contradiction. The speech kicks off by claiming the U.S. has almost achieved its goals. But then, in the very same breath, he promises to escalate attacks. It's a statement that's somehow declaring victory while also promising a whole lot more conflict. He then laid out three specific goals. First, he says regime change was never the plan, which is, a claim that kind of bumps up against some of his own past statements. The other goals were pretty clear: degrade Iran's military and protect our regional allies. But maybe the most significant part of the entire speech was a huge walkback on a key promise about the Strait of Hormuz. And as you know, that's a super critical waterway for the entire world's oil supply. This quote right here, it captures that shift perfectly. So after vowing to use American force to keep the strait open, Trump basically passed the security job to other nations. He told all these oil importing countries that they are now the ones responsible for protecting that passage. And that was a major surprise for a lot of US allies. Okay, so let's switch gears, because just hours before Trump even gave that speech, Iran sent out a completely different kind of message. And it didn't come from a podium. It came in a letter from their president. Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, published this 4-page letter directly on X, formerly Twitter. I mean, this is a highly unconventional move. You're bypassing all the traditional diplomacy to appeal straight to the American people. The letter makes several really key arguments. It claims the world's at a crossroads, that Americans are being misled about how big of a threat Iran really is. And it makes this historical point that Iran has never actually been the one to start a war. But its most provocative claim was this last one. The letter flat out accuses the United States of acting as a proxy for Israel, fighting Iran to the last American soldier and the last American taxpayer dollar. Now, this is a direct attempt to reframe the entire conflict for an American audience, basically suggesting their national interests aren't the ones being served here. So, okay, we have these two polar opposite messages, but what could be the real motivations driving them? What's the subtext here? Well, when you look closer at Trump's speech, analysts see a couple of potential motives. That talk about degrading Iran, it might have been time to calm the markets and lower oil prices before the weekend. And all the tough rhetoric, well, that could be a way to appeal to his base while also giving him cover for walking back that big threat he made over the Strait of Hormuz. The reaction from some foreign policy experts was, let's just say, brutal. One analyst called the speech embarrassing, depressing, and incoherent. They even argued that for Iran, it would be seen as a victory speech, a sign that the U.S. strategy was just all over the place. So what's Iran's strategy in all this? That letter they published reveals something pretty fascinating. Even if not a lot of people actually read it, it shows that Iran's leaders are closely monitoring the conversations happening among Trump's own supporters. They are tailoring their message specifically to tap into those very same discussions. So after all these conflicting signals, this situation is just left incredibly tense and, well, uncertain. It's created this really anxious waiting period, both here in the US and all around the world. And this really puts the domestic pressure into perspective. Polling shows that nearly 2/3 of Americans want this conflict to end quickly, even if all the stated goals aren't met. That's a powerful political reality that's pretty tough for any leader to ignore. And adding to all this anxiety is this recurring pattern. It seems like significant escalations in this conflict often happen late on a Friday. And that leaves us with the final hanging question. After a week of defiant speeches, direct appeals for peace, and just deep contradictions, the entire world is on edge, wondering, are we about to see yet another escalation?